Hi and welcome back to my Robot Safari YouTube channel. I just wanted to say a massive thank you to each and every one of you that have subscribed, commented and shared my videos. I really appreciate it out of the depths of my heart. Starting my own YouTube channel has been a dream come true, and I've always wanted to do a channel that kind of isn't one thing. So normally you would have videos that I create that is overlanding based. But I want this channel to be adventure based, and this is what the next video is about. You're going to want to stick around for this one. Please enjoy. The first successful powered, controlled and sustained heavier than air flight happened on December 17, 1903 at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina by American inventors Wilbur and Orville Wright in the aircraft the Wright Flyer. Since then, flying has changed the world forever. I was fortunate enough to grow up with aviation. My dad is a pilot, and a very good one at that. I became obsessed with aviation. Of course, I wanted to become a fighter pilot. Well below math skills and asthma crushed my dreams. I did, however, go solo in a glider, and this is what this story is about.
How's it? Is ek by die regte plek?
Jy's op die regte plek, ja. Dit is 'n bietjie reg.
Okay, lekker.
That is my uncle Oscar Goudriaan, a world-renowned glider pilot. And we are about to embark on a special adventure.
My name is Oscar Goudriaan. I'm an aviation enthusiast. Once the aviation starts going through your veins, I don't think there's a cure for it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We're in Potchefstroom on the way to Worcester. Going to do some ridge running on the ridges there, chase some dussies off the stones, off the rocks. We're flying with a Beech Baron 58. I recently acquired this aircraft, very nice aircraft. We had a Baron B55 long time ago, and I'm got a soft spot for a Baron. Flight time will be about 3 hours, just over 3 hours 10 minutes. We'll be climbing up to 10,000 foot. Unfortunately, we don't have a chicken or beef stewardess, but yeah, hopefully a nice flight. I was basically born into a gliding family. My dad, Klaus Goudriaan, he was a national. He was part of the member of the national team. So he started gliding also. He emigrated from the Netherlands in the 1950s, and then through a couple of his business colleagues, he got into gliding. My brother is an ex-national team member, so obviously it just became a natural progression. But yeah, it's the bug is bitten and it won't let go. I grew up on an airfield. My first birthday party, where I was there, but I wasn't involved. Was on an airfield. My mother was heavily involved in administration of soaring in South Africa, and I then crewed for my dad, later crewed for my brother at various world championships, and then I started gliding. There was a formal course that was held by the Goldfields Gliding Club. Then we were operating out of Oordenaalsrust, where school kids of 14 and older could join this course. I was too young to go solo then, so I had to wait till I was 16, and on my 16th birthday I flew solo, and yeah, I just went on from there.
The plan for the day? From power aircraft to glider. We were met by Oscar's brother, Lawrence, who stays in the Western Cape and is also a formidable glider pilot.
Morning all, we're in Worcester Gliding Club. Tomorrow morning, or this morning, we are going to take off and fly with Lima Oscar. With Oscar piloting the 32 and myself flying the JS3. The JS3 was manufactured by Jonker Brothers in Potchefstroom. And I'm looking forward to the day.
Jonker's sailplanes have been at the forefront of glider innovation and is proudly South African. This specific glider is a bit of a party trick.
The jet is about 42 kilograms of thrust. It cannot take off by itself. It's just so that if you do land out or going to land out, you take the jet out, you start it, and you fly back to your home base. It just saves you the time of getting somebody to take your car and your trailer and come and fetch you.
A good friend of mine, he actually is unfortunately no longer with us. He described it as a conversation with nature. So it's you and your abilities and your knowledge and your interpretation of things that you see consciously and subconsciously. It's so you are trying to become one with the elements. So the engine, the sun is our engine, wind is our engine. A lot of people ask what happens when the wind dies down. So nothing happens. It just has a bit of a dampening effect on thermals. So we use the energy of the sun, which heats up the ground, which creates thermals. In case of Worcester Airfield, where we are currently, it's the wind and the sun. So you have the sun on the ridges and you have wind on the ridges, which then produces amazing flights. In the interior of South Africa, we get more. It's more of a thermal flying. So the sun heats the ground. The thermals will rise up from the ground, and then we find these thermals, and that's where the magic happens, and where the skill comes in, is to find energy lines, and then we follow these energy lines, and flights of 12, 13, 1400 kilometers in the interior of the country has been done. Obviously, in the Rocky Mountains, in the Americas or in the Alps, they use wave and ridge lift, and they have done. I think the longest flight has been done in America, and it was just over 3,000 kilometers in a 14-hour period. Worcester is, they call it the Worcester magic, and you've now had a taste of that. It's amazing flying. We've got a lot of overseas people, a lot of overseas glider pilots that come to Worcester. The first thought that comes to mind flying in Worcester is, but it's dangerous, and it's as safe or as unsafe as you want to make it. So you can fly really close to the ridges. I'm talking about 100, 150, 200 meters from the ridges. It looks a lot closer, but it's not actually that close. You have a couple of wingspans between you and the rocks. But you need to focus, and you need to not necessarily concentrate, but you need to be ahead of the aircraft, and you need to be present. You can move further away from the ridges or a bit higher of the ridges. Obviously, the closer you become, the closer you are to the ridges, the faster you fly, because the lift closer to the ridges is stronger. Actually, you get to a stage where you can be right up against the wind at the ridge, and it's not as strong. So there is what we call a power band. And as long as you remain in that power band, then the lift is the strongest, and you can get amazing speeds. If the wind is blowing 25, 30 kilometers an hour against the ridge and the conditions are right, then we can maintain cross-country speeds, or we can maintain air speeds of up to 200, 220, 230 kilometers an hour for hundreds of kilometers on end. That's when we go racing. I'm particularly prone to racing. I'm quite a competitive person, so I like to compete. Other people just like to fly around, check the scenery. The scenery is absolutely, if you go into the Ceres Mountains or down to Villiersdorp, Victoria Peak, those places, or even in Slanghoek, the scenery is absolutely amazing. I mean, it's indescribable.
I have flown gliders before, but nothing close to what I just experienced. Although the weather didn't play along in our favor, this short flight made me want even more.
So we took off on day one, the first day we flew, we took off. The wind was, unfortunately, was weak and it was out of the wrong direction. It was more parallel to the ridge. So we had to really work hard to get the full experience. Unfortunately, we didn't get the real experience. So we went up to Worcester Way, which is past Pikkenierskloof, which is what we call on the Porterville Ridge. The Porterville is a well-known town in paragliding circles. People launch off there with paragliders. So we went past Porterville, up on the Porterville Ridge, and then we turned around at Pikkenierskloof. We came back. I wanted to go down to the Tweeskloof Tunnel, but unfortunately the wind didn't play along, so we had to turn back, and then we came back via Slanghoek, and we had some trouble getting up at Slanghoek. And then we came back to Worcester. So all in all, a very enjoyable flight. We did about 200-300 kilometers on the ridges. Some of the ridges worked. So the theory is that if you have the wind on a ridge and you have the sun on a ridge, the ridge has to work. It becomes tricky when the sun is on the ridge and the wind is parallel to the ridge, or in other words, it doesn't blow into the mountain, it blows along the mountain.
Although these specific flights are just for leisure, there is a gliding Grand Prix where numerous aircraft start simultaneously and it becomes a full-on race.
It's like Formula One racing, you know. It's the margins are extremely tight. I mean, if you basically it's and the competition format that we fly down here, we will launch and then hang around on a ridge or a mountain, and then once everybody is launched, there's a predetermined start time or a gate opening time, which the start gate opens. And then we will have various turn points that we have to round. That's all recorded by a logger, which works off GPS satellite. And then once you come back, then you download your flight and you hand it into the scoring office. And then you get scored according to your speed, and well, the distance is mostly the same. So yeah, it's a full-on race. So you try and get ahead and stay ahead. And if you make one mistake, then 3, 4, 5 people pass you, and you have to work another 100 to 150 kilometers to get ahead again. So as I said, you know, I am competitive, and I do it well. So we're going to the World Championships in a couple of months' time, which is in Poland. But yeah, that to me is the essence of the game. You get pilots that just want to get in the air and fly around and enjoy the scenery and being one with nature. Then you get other guys that want to launch as early as possible and land late in the afternoon or in the early evening as possible. They want to fly the maximum distance. And then you get the competition pilots that want to use basically the best period of the day and go racing. And yeah, and I fall into that category.
The weather on day 2 seemed much better, and we geared up to do our last flight in Worcester before returning home.
We're on the way to Oudenberg at Worcester. On our way there, we are 800 meters above Worcester airfield. So we're coming up to the mountain now, about 2 kilometers away. We're gonna the wind is coming off our right hand side, and there we come into the ridge. You'll notice that that's the vario going up. That means the outside air is going up. So we're going to stay about 300-400 meters off the mountains on our left hand side. And then we just keep on flying straight, and as you fly along, then you climb in this in the wind hitting the mountain. So the wind obviously can't go into the mountain, and so it has to go up, and as it goes up, we go up with it. So the main thing is to keep your speed up, because obviously with speed comes control. You don't want to go too slow, so we want to keep our speed about 100, 110 minimum. Ideally above 120 kilometers an hour. That's obviously airspeed. Ground speed will be different. And now we turn around, we go the same route. So you just run up and down this ridge until we get above it. And then, if you look to your right now, 90 degrees, that's where, and if you look up, there's some clouds forming. That's obviously an indication of thermals. So obviously, we're climbing up nice 3.5-4 meters a second now. The thing is, when you're close to the ridge, then obviously you don't want to turn into the ridge. So you never turn into the mountain. You always turn away from the mountain. Otherwise, sometimes you get flows and eddies close to the mountain, and it doesn't allow you to turn away from the mountain. So you want to be very respectful of the mountains. If you imagine the air being a liquid, you need to and you need to be very aware of where the wind comes from when you're close to the mountain. So then it gives you a very good idea of where exactly, what the liquid or what the air is doing against the mountain and around the mountains. And as long as you keep that in mind, then it sort of makes sense.
So gliding, unfortunately, worldwide is in decline. The membership is in decline. It's for various reasons. I think the main reason being gliding takes a lot of time. And time is becoming a very precious commodity. So you will spend most of your day on an airfield. You will arrive early in the morning and then prepare your glider and take it out and then launch and then fly and land at night and reminisce with your fellow pilots about the big thermal or the one that you didn't get. But so time, the world being time constrained, I think is one of the major problems that we face. It makes you a more well-rounded pilot when you are a glider pilot which progresses into a power pilot or a commercial pilot or an airline pilot. I mean, Scully Sullenberger, the famous Scully that landed on the Hudson River, also a glider pilot. Neil Armstrong, glider pilot. But going forward, I firmly believe that gliding will eventually reach the heights, and in South Africa we have some of the best weather in the world. Unfortunately, it's a very little known sport which doesn't get the accolades that it deserves. Obviously, my dad was involved with gliding. He was a national team member and very committed and very passionate about gliding as well. And it became, but as I said, it's not necessarily that once you have flown that the bug will bite you. It's just, I don't know if it's in the genes or it just progresses from there, but he was very committed, he was very passionate, he put a lot of effort into gliding in South Africa. Big shoes to fill, amazing man, and he had a natural ability, and hopefully I can take it to the next level.